Welcome back to All Elite Weekly here on the 830 Wrestling Network. I am your host, Zach Morgan. Now, does Mercedes Moné need to win the Owen? Last week, we saw Mercedes Moné return to AEW after 6 months away. During her absence, she went on a global losing streak, dropping each one of the titles she held, including the CMLL Women's Championship, which she dropped to Persephone, which is why there's history in Mercedes Moné Persephone, why she went after Persephone lost her match to Hazuki. Now Mercedes is back, and she's back not only trying to win the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament, but to take advantage of what that means and finally claim the AEW Women's World title. This is the one title that she hasn't been able to touch, and it was the one belt that she was not able to win during that reign last year, and she lost both of her shots at it, including the shot she earned from winning the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament last year at All in Texas. So far, everything seems to be going her way. As I said before, she's set to face Suzuki in the semifinals, and as of the recording, she has some momentum going into this match. This will be their second match. Their first was at New Japan Strong Style, where Mercedes Moné defended her Strong Women's Championship in the main event, and everything really seems to be shaping up and looking to be going Mercedes' way. So, once again, does Mercedes Moné need to win the Owen? I want to give a shout out to everyone who participated in the poll on Discord. If you haven't joined the 830 Wrestling Network's Discord server, what are you doing? Join us, join the discussion. We do chat during shows when we can. I am trying to be present on the server on Wednesdays when I am able to watch live. Sometimes I cannot watch live, as often is the case on Saturdays for the time being. I am starting to run polls as I plan out each episode to figure out what you guys want to hear about. So if all that sounds like a good time to you, please join us on the 830 Wrestling Network Discord server. You can find a link to the server in the description. On June 10th, this past Wednesday, a vignette aired where Mercedes said, "For 6 months, she sat back and watched the women's division lose its power." Let's take a quick look at what's been going on in the women's division over these past 6 months. We've seen the rise of Tekla and the Triangle of Madness. Chris Statlander was the Women's World Champion at the beginning of Mercedes' absence. Mercedes' second title shot came against Stat at Full Gear last year, and it was the second straight year we saw Mercedes Moné face Chris Statlander, and it was the second straight year we saw a really good match between Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander at Full Gear. Stat drops the belt to Tekla, and since then, Tekla has only gotten hotter and hotter as champion. And up until Sky Blue lost to Maya World in the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament, the Triangle of Madness was right there with her. So now we're seeing the Owen sorting itself out, and we're seeing some real conflict in the group potentially, because Sky Blue was the one who was supposed to take control, win the Owen, so it could be a Triangle of Madness main event at All In London. Meanwhile, Julia Hart has her sights set on the TBS title that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But this is the first real wrinkle we're seeing in the Triangle of Madness, and we could see a lot of that come into play before All In. Who knows if Tekla's even going to be champion by the time All In comes around. But at least for now, I'm expecting some sort of tag match at Forbidden Door for the Triangle of Madness, but Tekla is still red hot as world champion. Everything that she touches has been great. She had a great match at Double or Nothing, and I do not want to see this reign end anytime soon, which is partly why it's not upsetting to see Mercedes Moné come back, but I don't know if Tekla is hot enough to justify being put over Mercedes Moné just yet. Tekla's run has been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying seeing what she can do on the microphone. I'm enjoying seeing what she can do in the ring. She's put on great matches. She's done great promos. I want to see more of it, and I'm afraid that Mercedes Moné coming back is going to almost put an end to that in a way. However, just because it puts an end to it in a way doesn't mean that it's necessarily for the worse. Obviously, with what's going on with Sky Blue, with what's going on with Tekla, we are seeing wrinkles in the fiber there there's going to be some conflict there, and we're going to see that breakup happen at some point. If not that breakup happen, we will see tension kind of rise, and that'll take over the storyline for what happens there in lieu of the belt being present, should that be the route they go. Now, back to Stat. After she dropped the belt, she began an unlikely partnership with Hikaru Shida. That pairing, of course, wore down until it finally dissolved at Double or Nothing. That's a way I decided to describe, Hikaru Shida taking a kendo stick to Chris Statlander as Chris Statlander was going to reclaim the AEW Women's World Championship. So we did see a Philly street fight happen with them, though Dynamite after Double or Nothing. Stat came out on top. I don't think that's the last time we're going to see them go at each other. I expect to see them getting involved in each other's business for the summer, possibly a little bit beyond. And this is going to be one of those, if they build this right, this can be one of the great feuds that we've seen in AEW. This has a ton of potential there, and I really, really want this to work. And I think they can make it work. They just got to plan it right. They got to time it right. And I think giving it a break over these past few weeks has been good, and it'll make everything fresh when it picks back up again. Be sure to hit subscribe if you have not already. Now let's talk a little bit about the TBS title picture. The TBS title is relevant to Mercedes Moné being in AEW no matter where Mercedes is, because for almost 90% of Mercedes Moné's tenure in AEW, she has held that belt. That belt has been attached to her for almost 90% of the time she has been in AEW. Mercedes Moné takes the belt off Willow Nightingale, goes on her 670-plus day reign as TBS champion. Last year, on New Year's Eve, Willow Nightingale takes that title back. This set in motion the losing streak that saw Mercedes Moné lose everything. Every belt that she had collected on that run, she lost. And shortly after losing the TBS title, she came on to Collision and said, you know what? I'm taking some time away. I need to go recover. In reality, what was happening is she was going around the world and losing all of those titles that she had collected during this reign. All of those titles. This was the payoff part for putting the belts on her in the first place. Oh, the belts got all that TV time. The belts got all that screen time during all those pay-per-views, all those entrances, everything. And now Mercedes Moné was going around the world to drop the belts. This is why they did the payoff. They were doing the payoff. I don't know why I feel the need to explain it. That's me letting the internet get to me, I guess, a little bit. But regardless, Mercedes Moné, on her losing streak, takes time away to go give the belts back, and, of course, spend time with the Beast Mordos. So while all that's going on with Mercedes, Willow Nightingale is focused on being a fighting champion with the TBS title. Additionally, she's also got the tag titles that she's focused on defending. Once Willow and Harley lost those tag titles, it became Willow's sole focus to be a fighting champion with the TBS title. We saw Willow and Harley kind of a little bit less on screen together. However, they are firmly still in each other's corners. It's not so much a goodbye. It's more of a see you later. And whether it was plan A or not, Willow's injury and then the subsequent vacating of the title directly led to the return of Mercedes Moné. The TBS title picture, once again, being directly attached to Mercedes Moné. Now, there are a series of matches that are going to be held to see who will qualify for a Survival of the Fittest match. That's going to happen on the July 1st episode of Dynamite. Beyond Julia Hart, your guess is as good as mine as to who could actually be participating in that. I like the idea, really, of throwing Mina Shirakawa in there. I like the idea of putting someone like Queen Aminata in there. I like the idea of having Athena in there. I mean, there are a ton of options you can really go with that direction. I'm just not really sure how you play it out. I could also see there being some talent from Stardom being involved in that tournament, to be honest with you. Some talent from CMLL. There's a ton of direction to go with where you fill that out. We haven't even mentioned the tag titles yet, which are currently held by Lena Cross and Megan Bayne, and that we should talk about in its own right. I think this is no disrespect to Lena Cross, but I do think the women's tag title run would mean a lot more if it were Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford like they were building up to. I hope Penelope Ford recovers from, I believe it's her foot that she hurt, as quickly as possible. And that really brings me to the next point, because injuries have really been taking their toll on the women's Owen Hart Cup tournament. Hoping that Sari and Willow both have a speedy recovery, of course. But with all the storylines there, did the women's division really lose its power without Mercedes? The answer is no. And it's not just Mercedes who is absent that the women's division had to overcome. Toni Storm has been gone now for at least 3 months. The women's division stepped up and got stronger, not only in Mercedes Moné's absence, but Toni Storm's absence as well. And they're going to continue to do that now in Willow's absence, with Mercedes Moné stepping up to the plate and leading that charge. So I'm going to once again ask, does Mercedes Moné need to win the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament? Yes. Given who Mercedes is, to maintain that level of legitimacy, yes. Mercedes Moné absolutely needs to win the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament. There's no doubt about that. And that's not any shade at Hazuki or Athena or Maya World even, which shout out to Maya World, who was the understudy for Sari and advances to the semifinals in what I was incredibly surprised by that. With where everything is, with where things lie, yes, Mercedes Moné needs to win the Owen, because Hazuki can come back from a loss to Mercedes Moné. Athena can come back from a loss to Mercedes Moné. I don't know if Mercedes Moné can come back from a loss in this tournament. Now, Mercedes Moné needs to win the Owen for her character. Absolutely, 100%. Does that mean Mercedes Moné should win the title shot that she gets from winning the Owen? I don't know. Again, I said it before. I really like what Tekla's doing with the AEW Women's World title, and I don't want to see that end so soon. Granted, All In's in August, so we've got 2 months to build up to that. But just because Mercedes Moné needs to win the Owen, that doesn't necessarily mean that the AEW Women's Division needs her to win the Owen. The AEW Women's Division has gotten nothing but stronger in her absence, and they would do fine if Mercedes Moné lost. Mercedes Moné needs to win the Owen to maintain what her character is and what her character means to the division. But Mercedes Moné losing the Owen would show that the AEW Women's Division is ready to take that next step. That's all I have for you on today's episode, but do keep an eye out for the next one, where we're going to talk about all of what's going on with the MJF Mark Briscoe feud, what we need from Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, and maybe we'll even take a look at what's going on with Blackheart Leo Rush. Leave a like, drop a comment. My name is Zach Morgan with the 830 Wrestling Network, and I will see you next time.